Are you stuck on past mistakes? You find that you just cannot let them go and it's driving you crazy. And if that is your situation, in today's video, I'm going to talk about why this happens. And at the end, I'm going to show you a solution as to how you can break out of it. And then finally reclaim some sense of peace and clarity and not torment. But before we do, for my returning viewers, welcome back. I am always happy to have you guys here as usual. And if I can ask for a small favor, like, share, comment, subscribe to the channel. This way we can really help kind of get it out of that new channel phase and help spread this to as many people who need it as possible. And for my new viewers, welcome. My name is Estevan, and I help guide and mentor individuals to rediscover who they truly are by peeling back the stories that control our lives, that leave us into these repetitive patterns that inadvertently shape our destiny. The first question is why? So why do we harp on past mistakes? Even if it was a mistake, like I said, 10 years ago, maybe you betrayed somebody. Maybe you did an act that you don't feel too proud of yourself for. Maybe it was a pretty big mistake. And it's something that is still so fresh that even now, if you sit and reflect on it, you can feel the emotions as if it was yesterday. From my personal experience and from the people that I mentor and guide who are in the same boat, here's what a repeated pattern that I've noticed. A repeated pattern as to why we stay ruminating on it is because at some deep level, we believe that if we torture ourselves, that this brings some form of justice, that this could bring some balance into our lives again. And it really isn't uncommon. It's a very common thing. And it may not be at first glance, but once you reflect on it, you actually really do start to see that it really is just you just whipping yourself as a form of punishment for it. And we will do this endlessly. I know I found myself doing it with particular mistakes that I made, situations that I was in that I really wished I'd done something different, and it just sticks with you. And then for me, I have to, or I should say, I used to sit and ruminate and just actually emotionally torture myself over and over and over again. And so that's one thing that I've really noticed is a common occurrence. Now, another one I find, and this is actually going a little bit deeper, the reason why we often stick to the mistake for so long, it no longer really becomes about the mistake itself. It instead becomes about a fracture of identity. What do I mean by that? Let's imagine that, you have in your mind, in your story, in the way you perceive yourself, that you are a good person. You're an honorable person. You're, let's say, not very forgetful. So if you made plans, you made certain responsibilities or promises, that you keep them. And you formed yourself an identity around these things. And when you made that mistake, that was a mirror reflecting back at you, saying, you're not perfect. You're not all you're cracked up to be. And this moment, this harsh truth, was so impactful that it essentially kind of shakes and causes an instability in your sense of self. And as time goes on, as the years go on, it is who we thought we were that we may feel we're not anymore because of that mistake. And we get stuck. And then if we want to go deeper than that, we want to say, well, what is causing us to have that sense of identity? And like I said, it's the story you live by. Either was given to you by parents, it could be your mother, your father, siblings, classmates, culture. It's all sort of intertwined, but more often than not, it's the family dynamic. And it's somewhat self-manufactured as well. that leads you into this frame that you put yourself in. This frame that says, I don't make mistakes. This frame that says, I'm supposed to be a good person. I'm supposed to keep my promises. Which in turn, when you put yourself into a frame, you create conflict, because then you have to dump parts of yourself into the shadow. Imagine it's like a bag that, let's say there are certain traits where being human, we forget. Being human, sometimes we just don't care. I don't care about wanting to make this on time or having to show up here, or I told this guy I'd be there, but sometimes you just don't care because you're a human being, and that's just what we are. We always aim to be as good as we can and to do the right thing. But when we hyperfixate and we now move through the world with anxiety and paranoia, that's a totally different thing. And what happens, we take those parts of us that do not coincide with that frame and we dump it into a bag. We dump it into a bag. We dump it into a bag. But the funny thing is, we don't throw it into a bag and then leave it in our house somewhere. No, we actually lug it behind us. And you just carry it with you all the time as extra weight, instead of opening the bag and integrating those parts of you back. Because the one thing to know, and this is now we're going to get into the solution portion of my notes, by the way, in case you're wondering what the ruffling is. The solution to these sorts of dilemmas is, first, number one, you have to see what story did that mistake challenge or put into question. And in turn, what identity did it cause an issue for? What did it fracture? Because when you can understand the story, you can understand what has been causing you to stay in that position, to stay in that stuck space where this could be 20 years ago, in fact, and it still feels fresh. And when you can investigate the story and you can actually see it, all of a sudden, it's going to give you some sense of clarity. It won't solve the problem right away, but without a doubt, just seeing how it operates behind the scenes, how it's been influencing you, is going to do wonders. That's number one. Once you can recognize the story, you can understand the set of values you gave yourself. And you can ask, are these values sustainable? Can I be this perfect individual all the time who never makes mistakes, who never forgets, who never just has moments where they don't care, or when they can become selfish and think about themselves? You have to see that if this is something not sustainable, then you are going to cause internal conflict forever. Because as you dump things into the shadow, they don't go away. They form themselves into a personality type. That then within it, they create what I like to call a gravitational pull. It creates a gravitational pull, and then it also at the same time creates a craving. It craves things from you. It looks to leak out and express itself. The selfishness is looking to express. But then as you try to suppress and push it away because that's not who you are, then you create conflict. And so you're in this mental back and forth. No, I'm supposed to be this good person. And then you have the image, the shadow flashes, but you made this mistake. You told this person you would do X, Y, and Z, and you did not. You failed. And that image pops up and the words pop up. It will do that to you pretty much until you confront it. Once you confront it with the hero stance, as I call it, curiosity, adventure, love, compassion, a firm hand to investigate that inner world and to slowly peel back that narrative and to see who it is that you truly are behind all that. And who's behind all that is something you cannot describe. It's an irrational feeling, but to you it is perfectly rational, and how can you ever doubt its truth? That's what sits behind. Another option you can do is write it on a piece of paper. This is a classic practice. It's a ritual. You write out the mistake that you made, and you write out the story that has led you, that has caused this effect in identity and this fracture in identity. You can write all that down. And I want you to represent it in your mind as a chapter in your life, not as the whole story that you're now going to forever be that individual. Because that's not the case at all. You can write that down, put all your energy, put all your emotions separated from you as you write it. Be with intention, with focus. Then you can take it outside, you can burn it, you can rip it up. And it's a symbolism of a closed chapter. That moving forward now, you're the integrated version. No longer the person that's separated and split off from the parts that we feel are undesired, but instead we integrate them and accept that we are both these things. We are both individuals that want to do good and we want to make people proud and bring light to the world. But at the same time, if we are unaware of the darkness we have, it will control you. And so it's better to have it integrate and see it as a yin and yang, if you will. And then finally, on this last note, this is a bit of a perspective shift. Understand that no amount of torturing yourself today is going to rewrite or restructure anything that happened in the past. And so all you're doing is just causing yourself suffering. You're simply just suffering in hopes that if you do that, if you try to rewrite something in the past, it's going to change the future. It's going to bring you good fortune. Does that make sense? And I find myself asking that all the time if I ever get caught in this. I'm torturing myself today as a form of justice to correct the past so that I can then clean the future. But what you end up doing is contaminating your future because everything is built today. Your life is built today. And that compounds day after day. And as you suffer day after day, through the lens, the filter that we've put over ourselves, through the story and the narrative and the identity, now everything moving forward is going to be seen through that lens. And it's not going to be crystal clear until you peel it back. Until you see that today is the only day that exists. Now I'm honest, one final thing. Kung Fu Panda. You guys, I'm sure you guys have watched that movie. If you haven't, there's a character in there called Master Oogway. Master Oogway was that turtle. He was that wise turtle. And he had a quote that he gave, I think he gave it to Po, the panda in the movie. I think it was to him. They were under this tree. I can't remember the name of the tree either, but he had a quote in there. It's a pretty famous quote, and I like it a lot. He said to him, to Po, "Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery. But today is a gift. That is why they call it present." If you want to get a full breakdown as to how the stories and the narratives are controlling you underneath the surface, and they are inadvertently shaping your destiny. If you want to see a full breakdown of that video, go ahead and click right here. I think you guys are going to love it. And of course, if you want more help, deeper guidance, I got links down below. First one being my free guide that you can download. And on top of that, you'll be part of my newsletter where I send out monthly insights, strategies, concepts, philosophies, all towards peeling back the narrative and really rediscovering who you truly are inside. And then if you want to work with me personally, that would be my absolute pleasure. And I would love to hold space for you. And that's that second link down below. Thank you very much. And I will see you on the next video.